there, and welcome back to another Miraculous Ladybug video. And today I want to talk about some of the backstory of the world of Miraculous Ladybug, and how the further we go along in the story, and the more details they add about the past lore, the less it all sort of starts to make any sense whatsoever. And I'm not talking about the individual character backstories or anything like that, I'm talking about the overall lore of the world, with a particular focus on how the secrecy of the Miraculouses and the Order of the Guardians doesn't really make any sense whatsoever. Like, how the hell are these magic jewels still a secret? How are they so mysterious? Because the more they add about the backstory, the more you realise that for this world to make any sense whatsoever, everybody has to be a bunch of incompetents. A bunch of idiots. Nobody's ever apparently cracked a history book. They're just willfully obtuse and ignorant. And that's really the only reason I can think of that the story would make any sense at all. And so let me explain. And I guess we have to begin with some context. When we're first introduced to the world of Miraculous, it's pretty much, just normal Paris, normal France, normal Earth. There's nothing supernatural or strange, it's just the modern world. That's it, there's nothing fishy about it. And then Gabe unleashes his Miraculouses and starts causing havoc attacking Paris with the intention of luring the Guardian out of hiding and getting his hands on the Ladybug and Cat Miraculouses so he can use them to grant his wish and bring his wife Emily back to life. In the meantime, Master Fu, the Guardian of the Chinese Zodiac Box, gives the Ladybug and Cat Miraculouses to Marinette and Adrian, and they become the protectors of Paris, and hence our story begins. And during this story, it's very much implied that these heroes are unique. They're the first of their kind. The world has never seen their like before and all that jazz, and you just assume that these are very special circumstances, that these are relics of an ancient Tibetan order that are usually used in secret, and thus, whilst there are characters in that secret book that are clearly old heroes from the past, you can justify this as them being secretive that whole time. They worked in the shadows, and thus the order was able to remain a mystery. They were able to remain hidden from the rest of the world. It's a pretty stock standard trope, and one that works well for the most part, at first. But now, the more we start to see within the show, the less it makes sense. I mean, how the hell are the Order of the Guardians and the Miraculouses themselves so secretive, so obscure and unknown? Like, how does nobody know about them? The more revelations we uncover, the more confusing it gets. I mean, for starters, just zoom back to the end of Feast, right? This is the episode when the Guardians return. Their temple in Tibet suddenly appears again, and it's enough of an event that it makes it onto international news. Do you reckon that China, who controls Tibet as an autonomous region, would not instantly be checking out this new temple? Sending in their goon squad? You think they wouldn't instantly discover this ancient order and try to chase them down like the Nazis tried to do to Fu during World War II? I mean, honestly, it would be the natural thing to do. Any government would probably do the same, except apparently France in the show. And so now we kind of have to imagine the Chinese government acts wildly out of character for what we're used to in real life. That's sort of where my thoughts went first. They're forcing people to be stupid for the story to work, especially for that scene in particular. I mean, whilst the Guardians could remain hidden in the past, it doesn't make sense that it could remain a secret now. Helicopters, planes, an interconnected world, the internet allowing theorists to get together and come up with plans and ideas. Hiding out in the mountains isn't going to stop them being found now. And so realistically, the world should be finding out a whole heap about the Miraculouses once China seizes some of these boxes. I mean, maybe they won't get them all, but some at least. And then this got me thinking, how the hell are the Miraculouses even secret in the modern day already before the Guardians return? Like, I get the wider public not seeing them regularly, but these magical artifacts should realistically be among the most famous in history, shouldn't they? I mean, we see over and over and over again, in the more recent seasons that is, that these things are actually quite high profile, and so are the heroes that use them, used by numerous different people throughout history. And not just by obscure nobodies either, there's some fairly major players involved, like most notably, we see that Joan of Arc used the Ladybug Miraculous, and she wore no helmet. So I'm guessing secret identities just weren't in vogue back then. And then the Cat fought for England, and he removed his helmet too. And it's like, this was during the 100 Years' War, so she's pretty iconic for that time, and well known. A national icon. Pretty sure she's sainted by the Catholic Church. And yet somehow, not only does the knowledge that she was a superhero that kicked English ass get lost to time, but so does her very iconic and unsubtle colour scheme, red with black spots. And then, double this up with the fact that there's been numerous other people through history who have been involved in countless historical events that have likely worn those colours and used similar weapons. That hasn't ever rung any bells for anybody, like not at all. Like, I realise there had to be some minor, fringe sort of knowledge. After all, people like Gabe and Natalie and Kagami's mum, they go full Tomb Raider in search of the artifacts long after the fall of the Order at the hands of Feast. But that being said, and really the crux of this issue for me, is that more people should know. This isn't some, oh, look at the funny legend where they have super strength, etc. This is consistent artistic depictions from numerous different cultures across history, separated by huge geographical regions. And realistically, there'd be historical accounts of people who appear to share similar characteristics. I mean, look at the variety of different heroes who wielded each of the different Miraculouses. There's ones from Japan, and China, and ancient Greece, and France, colonial South America, a huge variety of people. And that's just the Ladybug Miraculous. Just that one. But there are numerous other Miraculouses in that box, and numerous other boxes, as we've seen. So therefore, over thousands of years, there'd be numerous wielders of each. Many of them who openly used them, I'd assume. After all, Joan of Arc and the Cat Guy did that. They openly worked for their respective king. Surely that would make it into a history book. And a tapestry. You know, the fact that they have supernatural powers. And on top of that, you know for a fact from canon that World War II Nazis were trying to nab Fu during the occupation of Paris. Likely so they could steal the Miraculouses from him, which to me at least implies some form of knowledge of them. And on top of that, implies that Fu had probably been using the Miraculouses to help people during the war, making him a target. So once again, you'd think this sort of thing would have made it into a history book. A random Chinese dude dressed as a turtle swooping in and whooping Nazi ass during the occupation of Paris? That's cool. And it's not like it's ancient history either. And all of this would be fine. Except there's the implication that Marinette and Adrian are OG heroes, the first public heroes. But they so clearly aren't. I mean, we see in the New York special that there are non-miraculous heroes. And then there's just so much more obvious evidence of the existence of the Miraculouses, the Guardians, and other heroes in the past. So many linking factors between a bunch of different heroes. Symbols that are hidden on paintings and statues. Similar costumes across cultures. All that sort of stuff. There would be more discussion. Not just a dedicated lady blog from some teenager, but universities. Governments would be taking notice, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. There'd be conspiracy theories galore, all talking about these mysterious heroes across time. They'd be in history classes, analysis, documentaries. I guarantee heaps of religious groups would say that these heroes aren't even heroes. They're not even humans, but guardian spirits, divine protectors, angels, gods, whatever. I mean, it is a reasonable assumption when you see this figure wearing red armor with black dots, and they appear numerous times across thousands of years in different places, appearing in artwork from basically every culture, and continuing to appear in the modern day. And on top of that, they have obvious superpowers, so why would people even think they're just random teenagers at all? I probably wouldn't, let's be real. And look, I get it, I'm looking too deeply into things. It's meant to be some fun backstory, and it is, but at the same time, the more extended lore they add, the more ridiculous it becomes. And slowly, it makes no sense that a whole lot more people wouldn't know quite a lot more about the Miraculouses than they do in canon. And honestly, it's already stretching my belief completely that the French Secret Service hasn't tracked down Marinette and Adrian and Gabe in the first place, but whatever. I mean, it's not like the first two, the teenagers, are very subtle about de-transforming in a random alleyway. Surely they could find them. Ugh, whatever. Ultimately, this is what happens when you try to add backstory to something you've already made that didn't have that existing backstory. You make plot holes. And whilst they aren't the worst plot holes ever, for somebody like me who overthinks everything, they're very annoying. And so, with all that being said, that's probably the end of the video here, and I will just say that these have been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What do you think of the backstory of Miraculous? Is it starting to get a bit ridiculous, or do you think I'm overthinking things too much? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know.